Hi everyone, welcome to the Fireside Chat of Regulatory Readiness in the age of AI and CRQ. In an era where AI-driven threats evolve at lightning speed, cyber risk quantification is transforming regulatory readiness. By blending AI's predictive power with data-driven insights, CRQ empowers organizations to stay ahead of cyber risks and fortify resilience. Today, I have someone who has been making waves in this field, Kavitha Srinivasulu, Cyber Risk Advisory and Consulting Partner at TCS. With 21 plus years of experience in cybersecurity, privacy, and risk, she has guided global enterprises through the evolving threat landscapes. Her expertise spans across GRC, RegTech, and next generation compliance frameworks. She blends deep technical insight with sharp business acumen. Today, she helps leaders navigate cyber risks with clarity, confidence, and control. Let's put our hands together in welcoming Kavita. Hi, Kavita, how are you?
Hi, Sanket. Hi, everyone. Good evening and good afternoon for everyone. And thanks for taking time. And first of all, thank you, Sanket, for providing me this opportunity to share views and to learn a lot of things around the growing space.
Fantastic. Before I start off with getting into the main part of the fireside chat, just on a general aspect, over the years, like I have known Kavita for long years now, and we have seen a lot of changes in how the trends have been happening in the cyber risk space. Well, Kavita, if you had to mention three things that you are seeing, which is kind of a trend in the cyber risk space, what would be those three?
So we cannot narrow down, what's happening day to day. It's an evolving space, and what is current today becomes outdated tomorrow. And we can't say that in a short span, but very significantly evolving across the digital space is definitely AI. Currently, AI is taking a lot of space, and lots of organizations are investing their time to understand how it will going to support and how it's going to help them in the future. And prior to that, it was definitely cloud computing, and how to store the data beyond the servers, or within the organization that they were managing without external access. And as we are also evolving, the next or the niche stage right now is CRQ, cyber risk quantification. We've all been used to doing a qualitative analysis, following the old pattern. But how if the cyber risk quantification is going to help the organization to be quantitative and data driven rather than being subjective in nature. So those are some three major fields that I would say is evolving and around which the cyber risks are related.
That's great. So that's a great segue to my first question is on how is cyber risk quantification supercharged by the AI's predictive prowess that we all have right now, is rewriting the rules of GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. And what does this mean for organizations who are battling a relentless cyber storm?
Okay. So basically, governance, risk, and compliance function is a foundation pillar for across the security field or the security domain, and it is responsible for managing the business at an enterprise level, at a facility, city, and globally. Governance, risk, and compliance. This GRC plays a very key role in in building the skeleton for the organization, addressing the uncertainties and lots of activities that is evolving day by day. In the recent years, we are seeing in GRC there are lots of changes that's happening. The kind of manual efforts that were carried out needs increasingly meeting the regulatory requirements, and there is a relentless space on technological advancements that's growing day by day. But what are the risks, that GRC space is facing, and how AI would definitely help in those spaces? I would say in three main areas where the organizations are facing, the threat currently. One specifically is the data silos. When we say data silos, there is no a centralized place where the data is managed, maintained, and it is in a very known. It doesn't have a known picture. There is a lot of incompatibilities. The formats are not aligned. There is metadata, which due to which there are unknown threats, and there are lots of scattered data across the organizations, which at this point it's a challenge where some of the important data are missed due to manual efforts. That's one challenge in the GRC platform that I foresee. And another complexity is on the regulatory requirements. It is no more an ISO 27000 compliance or ISO 31000 compliance, right? There is always a space where the compliance requirements are expanding across the industries, across the sectors, across the geos. Each and every geo is coming up with their own specific checklists and regulatory requirements, standard requirements, privacy acts, and periodic reviews that is undertaken by the organizations across the globe. Right. That's a second complexity that I see in the environment currently. And another third top space where I see there is evolving challenges on the dynamic threats. The risk landscape that we are currently seeing is constantly fluctuating, and it is not like there is the vulnerability that we see today, especially with the emergence of sophisticated cyber attacks that we are seeing in day out. They are not standard. There is always an evolving strategic models. There is a sophisticated way where the predators are influencing the environment. So how does artificial intelligence with the risk with the risk enabled atmosphere and with the rapid data processing that it is programmed or developed to do, it is definitely going to help the organizations to take proactive measures in processing the data at the earliest, for automizing the efforts moreover, and by pattern recognition, by automating the risk detection that we are working in and day out, streamlining the compliance monitoring, enhancing the decisions that we are taking. So where does the decision making come into picture is, we are not able to take a decision by having a solo data or a manual data in front of us, where some information is unaddressed or we are not able to identify. So when using this AI, we will definitely be able to take proactive approaches, take data from various sources, and we'll be able to utilize that for better decision making, are some of the spaces where AI will help us.
Great. Kavita, since you mentioned, right, so GRC also has seen a growth trajectory in its own way, right? And we have seen people having Excel sheets on what to maintain, what not to maintain, and getting certifications as a part of check boxes, right? Which kind of
Right.
feels like floppy disks at the present age, right? So, what do you have to say about it, right? And what do you think? What chaos waits for them if they continue to make the entire GRC function as a checklist? What do you think they are up against? How do you think that it's going to make everything chaotic for them?
Okay, that is a most needed point for all the organizations to relook into their current, old tradition or the traditional checkbox model that they are using for compliance. The traditional checkbox compliance model are losing their effectiveness in today's rapidly evolving cyber risk environment for several reasons. There, as I said, there are some data which is not definitely providing a justification for proving if it's critical or non-critical, addressing the true scope or the nature of emerging threats, because when we are doing a subjective analysis or a qualitative assessment using the traditional checkbox, it's only giving us a very subjective analysis report for by which you categorize it as high, medium, and low. However, relying on the static information, the the predefined lists and the periodic assessments are not going to help, which still leaves behind some blind spots. It's not able to quantify, what kind of risks that is going to evolve, or the risks that is going to affect their organizations in the usual audit cycles that the organizations are undertaking currently. Additionally, the checkbox compliance does not account any dynamic or sophisticated tactics. Okay, they are always dependent on the static data that is available, and they don't look beyond in quantifying the risks. However, we will have to, or the organizations have to aligning with the complexities and the requirements from the regulators, understanding their organization's threat factors. They will have to slowly change this checkbox mentality. They will have to lead and understand the importance of quantifying the risks, because unless and until we are able to measure the risks that we are facing today, we will not be able to convince or talk to the board of directors. The board of directors or the finance team specifically, whenever we are going to take list of risks with a high rating, they are not going to accept, because it's subjective in nature. It's not showing the original loss to the company. The checkboxes will always give a subjective analysis, and some missed opportunities are faced there, because we are not able to justify what will be the impact to the organization when there is going to be when there's going to be a disruption because of this particular risk that we are failed to mitigate. So definitely, the organizations have to come out of that mindset or the mentality of checkboxes that can definitely lead to fragmented efforts, siloed efforts that's going on across different teams and different functions. And there would definitely be challenges in taking the right measures for mitigating the risk that the organizations are currently facing.
Great. So I was just taking a couple of questions that have come to my DM on the session when I posted about it. But I'll come to those questions in a bit. Right. My next question would be, you mentioned about how important the AI part in CRQ is, how the checklist is like a floppy disk, right? So, in
Mm.
your experience, since you have been advising and guiding a lot of global enterprises, right? Would you give an example, or kind of, I would say, a pulse founding story where AI enhanced CRQ kind of helped the organization save themselves from a cyber catastrophe? All right. So, and what were the stakes? How did the data driven heroics play a major role to it? If you could take us through that journey.
Sure. When we are talking about ensuring, AI in cybersecurity would definitely help us in quantifying the risks and, ensuring that the data that we are working on is well identified without compromising with the risk visibilities. Artificial intelligence becomes more deeply woven into the fabric of cybersecurity, definitely, to do a very deep understanding by automizing the efforts, by leveraging the AI's power, by safeguarding with regulatory compliance. When I'm saying safeguarding and leveraging, the AI is definitely is only a tool. It's definitely not going to replace an individual or the human efforts, but that's going to be utilized as a proactive tool to quantify the risks and to safeguard the environment by complying with the regulatory requirements as well as the compliance requirements at an organizational level. The question is no longer whether in the use of AI will be helpful, or will we have to obscure oversight or accountability of individuals. There are lots of questions that come up. Would we who would be responsible, or how do we quantify the risks, and how do we ensure that cybersecurity cybersecurity posture is going to be maintained without compromising to compliance or the risks posture in today's threat environment. So what are the some of the recommendations or thoughts that shared across in various forums is, first and foremost, we will have to build very transparent and explainable AI systems, because AI is definitely going to be programmed it, using NLP, we will have to customize in such a way that the governance and the oversight will be done in a very effective manner, embedding with the organization structure. And another one key requirement when utilizing the AI is we will have to align with the regulatory standards, ensuring that continuous risk monitoring and visibility, are fostering for a cultural ethical innovation, in fact. So we will have to, utilize AI in such a way by automizing this cyber risk quantification, by quantifying the risk, understanding the organizational's threat landscape, by embedding the transparency, governance, and human oversight in every stage of AI implementation within the organization. We will have to develop and operate in a very effective manner to ensure we will be in a position to visibly work on the threats that's evolving, quantify, and to increase the risk posture of an organization. Hope I am able to address your query, Sanket.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So moving ahead, right? How do you think that the CRQ fueled by AI, and that helps with a lot of number crunching that is actually needed for CRQ, is transforming organizations from a reactive towards risk mitigation and risk management to becoming more proactive powerhouses? And how do you see this with like as a trend going in the future?
Um, as I said, if when we're talking about a proactive measure, there are several places where AI is going to help in organizations, improving their proactive risk management or proactive incident management, or proactively, taking decision making. So let's take an example of how, proactively, we can use this AI culture within our organization. The first one that comes up to our mind is the behavioral analytics. In today's environment, we know there are lots of risks that day by day it's increasing. The kind of, it can be a phishing, or it can be different kinds of social engineering attacks that we are foreseeing, right? The kind of threats are evolving, and we are not able to realize where it comes from. So this behavioral analytics is one of the key feature that using which the organization can proactively understand the alerts, understand where the threat is evolving, and how we will be able to overcome the challenges. And another second place that we can also see this AI helping is in SOC monitoring. So definitely SOC monitoring, if I have all the cyber security or GRC specific requirements within the organization or not, one thing that is very, very important and all the organizations are having within their organization is a SOC monitoring system. So while monitoring, we've always been following the old threat model or old policy of having a reactive measure. What we will do, we will definitely have a SOC monitoring system with the L1, L2, and L3. They are monitoring the systems and then take actions accordingly whenever there is an incident that's going to occur. That is definitely a reactive measure, where after an incident occur, you invoke the incident response plan that you have built in. But that is becoming a history now, right? Now, how we are seeing a proactive measure using AI is in implementing AI algorithms in your SOC monitoring system, which it helps us in taking proactive measures by by collecting the logs from various sources in our systems. Can be a security logs, it can be physical security logs, it can be authentication or digital logs, it can different kinds of logs that we are managing across the system. It can do a monitoring, you analyze, and proactively provide us an alert if any unforced threats are foreseen which will end up in an incident. So this is a proactive measure that AI helps us with in measuring and analyzing the kind of risk that is foreseen, and accordingly helping us to translate the risk into action, so that we can avoid any kind of incident that may occur in future, the real incident, or understanding if there is any financial impact would occur, or if there is any real time visibility that is essential for us to take action before it occurs. Those are some of the things that I can share.
Okay. And as we were discussing this, right? Because a management and how the like business leaders look into cyber risks becomes very important. And in recent times, we have seen that cyber risks have been dominating the C-suite conversations, right? And you would have seen that in your interactions as well. So, as AI-driven cyber risk quantification delivers crystal clear board-ready metrics, what do you think are few of the metrics that the board is looking for, and it kind of gives them an understanding of the current risk posture of the organization?
Sure. So definitely, as you rightly called out, the board of directors or the management it's definitely looking into a space where they would be able to get a meaning of understanding its implications. What is the kind of outcomes that is expected when there is an incident that's going to occur. So kind of old model or the traditional model that we've been following, the board of directors or the management is finding it difficult to understand how to translate that into a business impact, how to translate into a measurable financial values. So the cyber risk quantification comes into picture there, which definitely helps the execution team to a complete risk detection by doing cyber risk quantification analysis. A measurable outcome is identified, which impacts the environment, which impacts the organization, and the entire threat landscape is projected to the board of directors in quantifiable or measurable numbers, which helps them to see if there is an impact to the organization, if there is any incident that's going to occur, what will be the impact to the organization in numbers, and what will be the investment that they have to make at this point, for recovering or for avoiding any kind of impact that is expected. For example, if there is a risk that the executive team submits to the board of directors, stating as high, medium, and low, the management is not going to understand. If I'm going to take up to the table as the expected impact on the system if this risk is going to fail is $1 million, and if we are going to mitigate this risk proactively at this point, it's going to be a 20K or 200K or 300K. So the management will get a clearer picture on using the numbers. Yes, the investment is better than waiting for a disruption that will damage the system in a very significant manner. So that is one way of helping the board of directors to understand how quantifying the risk would help, and it will also help them in translating the risk to a business language. So one of the primary challenges that the board of directors are facing is a gap between the cybersecurity data and its relevance to organizational performance. So when we are going to quantify the risk by expressing what are the cyber risks that is in the quantifiable terms, such as the potential financial loss or regulatory fines or the penalties that is evolving and the operational disruptions, this allows the leadership team to move from abstract concepts to a concrete figures, and fostering a meaningful dialogue between the cybersecurity execution team and the board of directors to take the decision at the earliest, and it will also help in reducing the risk at an enterprise level. And another source or another way of helping the leaders to to understand the visibility is by defining the accountability and ownership, which is a key, or
The
which is
RACI,
a weak area. Sorry.
the RACI metrics.
Yes. So that RACA metrics definitely helps for any organization to understand informed oversight and informed accountability across the, it can be across the functions, domains, sectors, or applications. It really helps the leadership that to monitor the risk trends and to ensure the accountability of cyber risk is with the respective teams to take the corrective measures rather than waiting for an incident to occur and taking a reactive, right? So we'll
Right.
this cyber risk quantification provides the board of directors with some holistic dashboards and analytic report that highlights the exposure in real time. So when it's going to analyze the entire organization, the red, we usually see the red threat landscape, it's evolving day in and day out. If we are going to get a quantifiable and you know um, highly real time report in numbers, this would help the leaders to take actionable activities that will take place to allow some targeted remediation rather than generic and reactive measures by having a qualitative analysis. So this cyber risk quantification will help to take some quantifiable measures, understanding the investment versus the loss. The challenges that the team was facing in convincing the leaders to mitigate the challenges would be more relieving when you're submitting with evidence and with the proper numbers that is showcased by showcasing the dashboards and the reports that you get by doing the cyber risk quantification. So these are some of the places, the board of directors, where it will help, and AI and CRQ will work hand in hand. AI for automizing the efforts, and CRQ for quantifying the numbers so that it helps the management to take the right decision at the right time to invest in the right places.
Right. So we have a couple of questions
Sure.
by the live audience that are there. But before that, I have one question, right? So we discussed a lot about AI and CRQ. You
Right.
are there in this space, right? We are an organization building in CRQ.
Right.
Uh, in spite of this importance, why are there so less companies in the cyber risk quantification space? What do you think?
Um, I would definitely say it is not because cyber risk quantification is not important. It's still in the niche area because it is
And it's
always been
difficult to
trying to
build.
move out of the comfort zone, right? They're so used to doing these annual risk assessments and reporting, and that's what most of them, 99% of them, are aware about. Whenever we think of any audits, also they always come back to you for a risk assessment report. They don't differentiate, at least till now, on a quantifiable risk assessment and qualitative risk assessment. There is no differentiation. Once the cyber risk quantification is going to be adapted by the organization slowly, and I'm sure that will be with a significant change that we are seeing in the across the organizations will improve, and the decision making models also will change. But still, why it is still less is because of the awareness. They're still in the comfort zone where, as I said, the
Sure.
organizations have to come out of the comfort zone and to see how to adapt, scale, and improve their current risk posture is very important.
Sure. So we'll take up the first question of Orko Prabhu Ghosh, right?
Okay.
His question is, given the current organization threat landscape, how can
Mhm.
organizations effectively balance the benefits of AI-driven threat detection and response with the potential risks introduced by AI, such as adversarial attacks or model drift, to
Mhm.
ensure robust cybersecurity while maintaining operational efficiency?
Okay, so that's a good question. I'm sure we'll have, when we are thinking about AI, a new technology that is slowly growing across the organizations and across the globe also. First thing, with the current security posture of the organization, they should not blindly adapt to AI, which we all have to understand. AI is definitely a double-sided sword. double-sided sword, which I'm sure you would have heard in lots of places, that we are also trying to explain that to our teams around, because AI is definitely not straightforward, and it is not trustworthy always. Okay, that we will have to accept. And it is always the human intelligence plays a key role in deciding if we what is the right step that we need to take when we are enabling this in our organization. So how, because it the kind of the AI that we are implementing across the organization, across different security controls, have to be little you know um, have to be little analyzed. We have to build it in such a way that organizational augments are well understood. We are programming in such a way that AI driven controls are not biased, and are not taking the information as it is when asked, and utilizing the same across the functions, which is definitely a biggest threat. Okay, whenever we are using an AI, we should not completely depend on AI. I'll give you an example. Just before, take a couple of years back, cloud came into picture. So what happened is, when cloud came into picture, everyone started depending, especially during the COVID phase, they started completely depending on cloud. They started moving all the data to the cloud without understanding. There is something called as a security layer that is required before we move any data to cloud, under the assumption that when I move the data to the cloud service provider will take care of all the, for securing the data, that the data protection is not with the organization anymore, it's with the cloud. So due to which, what happened down the line, the number of attacks that happened in cloud were significantly high compared to the cyber attacks that happened on the on-prem, right? So why did this happen? Because we should not fail to build the important layers of security before we move into the new technology that is evolving day by day, because we never expected before that our data would be so accessible, scalable, can be available anytime, anywhere. But that happened. So we have to learn that culture of adapting to the new technology, and having security as always a skeleton to the any technology that we are building within our organization. And AI
Right,
also
right.
similar to that, right? AI is going to really be helpful for us in automizing the efforts, in finding out some of the data which the human error happens, right? Human error might happen, and we manually miss some information. We are unable to identify and track the information that get missed unknowingly. But this AI really helps us to to analyze the data end to end without leaving any gaps. But when we are analyzing the data and building that posture within our organization, we'll have to ensure that this data is completely data driven, and the data is completely that is the copyrights. For example, I'll take, right, whenever we ask a question, if we need to build something, we ask AI for some inputs, and if it provides, we cannot we cannot blindly take the data and start implementing, or start sharing with the customers, or start sharing with anybody possible, because that will definitely be a back it will definitely bite the organization back, because of the copyrights issue that may arise, because AI doesn't understand if it's A is the owner, or B is the owner, C is the owner, right? Wherever the data is relevant to the question that you're raising, it will give you the inputs. But it's a human who is building that control, or building that activity, have to take the right steps in getting it implemented. You can use the tool, you can use the technology as an automation, and not as a completely dependable, trustworthy. Okay, does that
So
answer your question, please?
I hope so. To Orca, right? I just wanted to add one layer to that. What makes us humans so special from any other species on this planet, or what we're talking about, the AI, and then uh, obviously we're going to have agentic AIs, then AGI, then super intelligence, right? I think one thing that makes us different from all other species is our common sense, right? And that's something we are building upon as well, to make a model which kind of adapts to the common sense that human beings do have as well, right? And I believe once we can achieve that, that's something that's going to make our life a lot easier, rather than just building on smaller agentic AI versions. So we'll take on the next question. Uh, I'm sorry, I cannot read the name here, but I'll ask the team to highlight. The question is, kindly suggest some methods for cyber risk quantification. Well, I can name a few, but Kavita, since you're the guest, I'll let you answer that.
No, I'll definitely can talk from how cyber risk quantification can help us, and how it's going to help in the in improving the current risk posture of the organization. But what are the different types of tools or different types of methods that you can use to uplift the current organization's cyber risk quantification? I believe, Sanket, you would add value to that.
Sure. Sure. So, you can use the FAIR model, right? If your team is there, you can like use the team strength to run their FAIR model, or you can use the Kuber model, or you can use the Octave model, or you can use the Crimson model, right? I named all the models that are there. There's also a model called MTM, which is measuring the metrics. So it's up to you which model you want to use based on your organization use case. But
Sorry. So to
the
cut, can you
most
please explain one of the model, like Cuber, for example, for us to understand better?
Sure. So each of this model works on different parameters, right? Now, each of these parameters have a different aspect to it. For example, in Kuber, there are six parameters like which particular industry the organization belongs to, what's the market cap of the organization, what are the different controls that are in place, what are the different geolocations from where they operate, and what are the different legislations that they abide by, right? So each model has its own parameters that are there. Now, it's up to the organization on what they decide they want to use it. But the major part about quantification is the data that's coming in. If you do not have a mechanism to collect data in the organization in an autonomous way, in an automatic way, none of the model is useful for you. The reason is, at the end of the day, if there is no data speaking in, if there are human subjectivity involved in it, if there are humans who are giving in inputs on their thought process, you're always going to get a biased result. So if you focus more on how you're getting the data, I think that's the area that's going to give you the best results. We'll take on the next question, which is from Rajat. Can you please share your thoughts around importance of AI governance in the context of responsible AI and trustworthiness while using AI-driven CRQ solutions? Well, a
Okay.
fantastic question, Rajat.
Yes. So when we're talking about the rapid evolution of artificial intelligence, not only in transforming the business operations, but also the tactics, the sophistication, and the velocity of cyber attacks that is evolving. So organizations, are now having some dilemma, right? Do I have to go ahead with the AI, or should I retain by using the old traditional model that I'm using? All this is because of the adversaries, that they're facing in decision making, and to take the right steps for building the security controls and for autonomous decision making, definitely. So this rapid adaptation, so rapid scale that is evolving day by day in the technology, there's some critical questions that is arising in the minds of the organizations, keeping that complexity of the regulations. When we are adapting the technology, it doesn't mean that we can easily adapt and we can easily measure and manage the controls, but there is always pros and cons, correct, when we are adapting to the technology. When we are taking AI driven model, it becomes normal only when we are going to replace the old traditional models with a quantification that we were just discussing about. There has to be a risk quantification model that has to be calibrated. That is for the main reason when we are, working on a data driven environment using AI, there has to be a measurable inputs as well to accurately reflect the shifting landscape. So understanding the nature of AI, there are some of the various ways in which we can do to account the new realities, be it of risk quantification, or beyond that static assessment that we've been doing. As we adapt to the new culture, we will have to keep the threat landscape that we are working on day to day and evolving with some of the key strategies that I would say, which will help us to align with AI and CRQ to ensure we are able to uplift the uh, evolving threats within the organization. In that, some of them would be one specific thing is, as I already told you as well, SOC monitoring system, a dynamic control system which takes logs from different sources and gives you unknown threats or unknown risks that is foreseen for
Hidden
you to
risks.
proactive measures. And another way of doing it is a dynamic scenario analysis and stress testing. This is also very important because it's not only building the strategies and building the documentation is important. uh, uh, a, s- a good stress testing is mandated not only by the regulators, rather by the customers as well. Nowadays they want their controls to be tested with the potential threat model, or for with a very potential AI driven attack patterns, for them to understand, are we able to sustain the business, and are there any unknowns or unknown threats which will help us in uncover the hidden weaknesses in the system and quantify the potential impact due to the threats that is evolving. So not only this, I believe, Rajat, you're also aware the DORA is one of the regulation that is that is becoming one of the high need in the market now, in the industries, across the industries, right? So when we're talking about DORA, even there, one of the important regulatory requirement is on the penetration testing. The testing is becoming one of the key requirement. Why they want us to test? Because for us to test, understand the unknown risks and the hidden weaknesses to be identified, and with the assessment, we'll be able to understand the potential impact to our environment. And once we identify the potential threats, how we are going to mitigate that by doing a cyber risk quantification, in seeing, while during this test we understood this is the risk that is foreseen. If it occurs, if there's going to be a disruption, this will be the loss to the organization, and if you're going to mitigate, and this is the measurable numbers. So when we're going to do a testing, that is also a way of building the AI culture, aligning with the quantifying measures. Okay. And another way of utilizing or aligning AI definitely is on the expanding risk metrics and the key performance indicators. Nowadays, as we were saying, with the static traditional metrics and specific statics that we were using so far, are no longer fully satisfying to capture the scope of AI driven threats. It is help us to some extent, but as the technology is increasing, the old pattern risk metrics is not helping us anymore. So organizations should develop new KPI that reflects the speed, the automation, and the complexity of AI attacks. That also should
Right.
be included
So,
in such a
Kavitha,
way.
Kavitha,
Yeah,
since
please.
since since since, since you are answering this, right? I think we have a
Yeah,
similar question which would have a similar answer, right? So, Yash has a
sure.
question on how can organizations ensure that AI-driven CRQ models remain adaptive and relevant amidst shifting regulatory, geopolitical, and threat landscapes. I thought of putting this question because you were answering the same way. right? So we could just take this question as well.
Sure. See,
So you could
the
continue whatever you're answering because
uh,
that would cover this answer as well.
sure, sure. No, that's what I was going to come to the next. We are used to the standards, complying to the standard requirements and the privacy acts and other geo-related regulations, right? So when AI comes into picture, is there an AI, standard that we have? Yes, ISO 42001. I believe most of us are aware nowadays, but having complying to the standard requirement alone is not sufficient, given that the AI threats can cross the organizational or the standard boundaries. Recalibrating the risk models that we are working on in within our organization should change, and we have to take the evolving good practices, for us to collaborate across the ecosystem. The collective defense strategies have to be defined to help the organizations to benchmark. We will have to test the controls, not at an organization level only. We have to understand the criticality of the functions. It might be the applications or it can be the infrastructure. We will have to test and mitigate the risks in such a manner that it will help us to reduce the risk that is evolving. And to reduce the risk, it is not the static analysis is not going to help us anymore. The quantifiable risk that we spoke about will solve the challenges in decision making, and to adversely sit with the board of directors and to take the right kind of measures and to invest in the right places. The AI driven
Right.
models. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Since we have like 15 more minutes and we have like a lot of
Sure.
questions, I'm going to merge two questions for the next one, which is of Mr. Hardik Karwal, which is how can
Mhm.
organizations balance the velocity of AI innovation with the need of
Mhm.
rigorous model validation and ethical oversight? And in a similar line, Juhi Sharma has a question which asks, with AI models now being embedded into GRC tools themselves, what guardrails, according to you, should be placed to ensure these tools don't themselves introduce bias or misclarify risk? So I think both of them are similar lines in talking about how do we validate the models, how do we do the proper checks, how do we like keep them away from getting biased. So if you could just address that particular aspect.
Okay. So, in this first two things that an organizations to understand while they're adapting to the new technologies is not equal to A. It is not the same, right? It has to be evolving, and there is a change that is required in the current system, be it a tool or be it even the team, right? A person who is working in A function is not cannot work in the B function without a proper guidance, a training, and uplifting their current skill sets is important. Without enabling the resource with the right set of skill sets, you can't expect the cybersecurity resource to perform the same across all the functions. I'm not
Correct.
saying we are not knowledgeable or we are not having that much skill set. We do have, but we will have to be prepared to learn the new strategies. When the technology is increasing, it doesn't mean the technology is stuck to the old trend models and they are no different with what cybersecurity team is working today. Because, for example, if we take that cybersecurity teams doing a risk assessment as well. Before we used to use Excel sheets, right? We used to use the Excel sheet slowly, manually. We used to sit with the team, we used to answer, and we used to calculate by ourselves, manual calculation. Then in the
Correct.
Excel sheet itself, some formulas came in that we learned the formulas, and we were trying to use the manual efforts by incorporating the calculations within the Excel sheets. Then we came up with the GRC tools, which helped us in automate the efforts and coming up with solutions in a more effective manner. But now we are evolving day by day, and unless we come out of the comfort zone or the old traditional model and learn new things, we will not be able to align or adapt to the new culture. That's first thing. And the tools that we are working in today, the GRC tools, for example, they are not existing. They're not the same today also. For example, be it, A, B, or C tool that you're using within the organization, what it was before 5 years that you started using the tool is not the same today. They are also aligning to the technology, the changing digital
Correct.
space. Correct. They are automizing the efforts. Even if you see in the DevOps, for example, DevSecOps cycle, there are some tools which we were using only for generating the DevSecOps activities. They have embedded AI technology in the system, so that when we are doing any activity relating to DevSecOps, even AI is embedded for us to help in automizing the efforts and getting a better decision making output, rather than working on the same detailed scale, which will again takes time for us to take a decision to take it to the next steps. And cyber risk quantification as well, as I've already said, we cannot have a detailed report, sit and break our heads for taking a decision. So it will help us to quantify the risk and manage in projecting the measurable values to the organization or to the board of directors or to the leaders to take a better decision, right? So it is not important that we have to be worried only about to adapt to the complexities of the regulations. We have to first change the foundation pillars of the organization, right from the people to the process to the technology. Whichever activity that we are going to take, not specific to AI or cloud or to IoT or any emerging technologies, people, process, and technology needs a change in the foundation that we have built to uplift them or to leverage them to the technology that we are adapting to. Hope that answers your query.
I hope so. For the audience, it does help. We have one last question that's
Any
from
other
Ayatul
queries?
Malik. There's one more question is, can
Sure.
removing data silos in cybersecurity tools help AI use the combined information to show that even compliant organizations may face hidden risks, revealing the true risk behind the curtain often missed in industry compliance checks? Well, before Kavita starts, I would like to answer this.
Sure.
Compliance and risk are two different things, right? So, the answer to the question is, in short, yes, because like you might be compliant, but you're still not out of risks, right? So, Kavita, over to you. I just wanted to add that note.
So, removing the data silos alone will not help us in, removing the risks. As I said, we have to ensure that, you know, we are ensuring that the data that we have analyzed, we have created the metrics are understandable and they are measurable values, which would be easy for us to take a better decision, rather than working towards being compliant to business, right? Being compliant to business will not reduce risk. We have to understand the risk and try to mitigate the risk before it is riskier is the solution, right? Just by removing the data silos or removing the policies or procedures or editing the policies and procedures is not going to help. But we'll have to understand the threat landscape and find the risk is the key, is what I would say.
Great. Well, thank you, Kavita. Thank you for being so patient on answering so many questions. And thank you, a lovely audience, for asking these questions. The question makes our sessions better, our fireside chats, our podcasts, our risky talks all better. So, Kavita, I cannot thank you like so much, I would say, because we have been doing this for years, and Kavita always turns up for our sessions whenever we want to have, and we're discussing something, right? So, thank you, Kavita, once again, and I'm looking forward to have more sessions like this with you in the future to discuss more on different models of cyber risk quantification, maybe next time. But any last words from your end, Kavita?
Sure, Sanket. Thank you so much for providing me this opportunity. And it's always good to discuss and to be collaborative in understanding new culture, new space that is developing and evolving. And cybersecurity is definitely an evolving space, and it's not going to stop at least for another decade. That is for sure, because the risks are evolving, the technology is growing, and the vulnerabilities are increasing more than that. So one thing that we all have to understand and accept is cybersecurity is not a formula applying which will be 100% compliant or 100% attack free. It is always evolving, and there has to be always upgradation or leveraging our skill sets, our network, and the processes and technology. So this has to be a continuous journey, and we have to keep learning and keep growing in this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavitha, so much. And to a lovely audience, we'll soon catch up again on another session on another topic with another guest. And till then, keep quantifying risks. If you face any problem in quantifying the risks with precision, do reach out to us at Zeron.one. Thank you so much.